Hello! Today is book review day, which means books are gonna be reviewed. It's gonna be a 5-in-1 book review video because I haven't reviewed in ages and I don't really have time to do separate reviews. Hope you enjoy. The first book is Boy Meets Girl by Ali Smith, and I don't actually have that one with me, so I'll put a picture of the cover art, which I think is quite nice, quite understated and pretty, which kind of echoes or mirrors, if you like, the book itself, because it is an understated story. It's one of the books which are kind of rewritings of myths. I haven't read any of the other ones, but I know that Alexander McCall Smith's done one and I can't remember anyone else, but yeah. This one is the myth of Iphis? Iphis? That's embarrassing. See, if I had the book with me, I would be able to clarify. It's a love story, but it's more than that. It's a book that promotes sort of freedom of expression, activism, fluidity of sexuality and gender, and all the good things. And it also promotes sort of self-love and being true to yourself, and it's like, yeah! It's based in Scotland, which I enjoyed, and it's very modern, but at the same time questions modern values, which is good. I was a fan of that. It's very short, I don't know how many pages, but it's quite short, quite easy to get through. I think I'm going to get it out from the library again because it's just nice to dip into, I feel. It's really beautifully written, like really poetic. There's sort of quirky writing. It's just really nice to read, and I think that you'll like it, and just give it a go because it's just short. The second book that I read is The Handmaid's Tale, and actually this is a reread because I decided that I wanted to do it for my coursework. I originally read this book in a day. It really kind of gripped me. Basically it's based in a dystopian future where there's fertility problems because of like radioactive nuclear bad stuff, and so people are separated into categories. It's a totalitarian state, and there are handmaids, which are just women that are used to breed. They're just two-legged wombs, to quote the book, and it's all about oppression and sad stuff. It's quite bleak, really. I have been agonising over this book because I kind of wasn't sure what my opinion was on it. It's kind of really, it makes you think. It's very perceptive, very interesting, quite depressing, maybe, but not as depressing as 1984, which it was a response to. Ugh, see, this book just makes my words go, but I think it's definitely worth reading, and I think it's one of those books that benefits from more analysis. I'd really like to read more about Margaret Atwood. I'm going to read Oryx and Crake and the Year of the Flood, and I would like to read more of her stuff. And I do like this book, but I don't love it. It's almost quite cynical sometimes, and you could claim it's pessimistic, but maybe it's just realistic. But, you know, if anyone's read it, you can tell me what you think, because I don't have any words. Also, I really like the cover. I think it's really pretty. It's very pretty. And the book itself is not pretty, so it kind of, it's misleading actually. I mean, it made me want to pick it up, but it's kind of too pretty. The next book that I'm going to review is Jekyll and Hyde, or The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. But I hate that title. I don't hate it, it's just so long. This is another reread, again for coursework, and I really hate writing this title in my essay because I'm just like, it's making my word count longer and longer and longer. But yeah, that's besides the point. This is a Victorian Gothic novel about duality and good versus evil, and it's based in London. It's really creepy and misty and atmospheric, and I really like it. And you probably know, everyone knows this book, but not many people have read it necessarily. And my essay is about whether or not this book is still relevant to us, like the themes, the characters, etc. If you're interested in getting into Gothic, this might be a good place to start, because it's quite readable, it's quite short, it's a novella, and it's almost, at times, I feel like it's kind of just a detective story, like whodunit sort of thing. The next book I have read is The Magic Toyshop by Angela Carter, and this is one of her earlier stuff, and it is magic realism. Ooh. It's quite easy to read. the language is quite accessible, and not all of Angela Carter's stuff is... Some of Angela Carter's stuff is a little bit tricky. Some weird words, great words, but weird words, more unusual words. This is quite simple to read. It's really creepy. It's about a girl who is forced to live with her uncle Philip and her aunt's brothers, and they live in London in a secluded, isolated, claustrophobic house, and her uncle is obsessed with puppets, and puppetry is awesome but creepy. It's a small story in the fact that it's just about insignificant people, if that makes sense, but it's the themes, there's so many themes. For a small, quite short story, it's thematically, I love that word, really, really, you can get your teeth into it. That's my teeth getting into the book. It's really creepy. It gave me a bad dream. The characters are really vivid. The way Angela Carter describes characters is just absolutely fantastic. Like, literally, you can just see them and it's just unique, and she can just put a picture in your head, like, bam. And there's some really kind of like disturbing, creepy, horrific scenes, but then in sort of like contrast there's the sort of vivid, hopeful moments which really stop it being too bleak. Magic realism is something I haven't read before, so that was nice. I like that. And lastly, I have read Snow Child, and I was really excited to read this. I saw it in a bookshop before Christmas, and I fell in love with the cover for a start, and the premise and the setting, Alaska, I'm obsessed. Not obsessed, I'd like to go to Alaska, and I quite like the idea of the sort of wild, cold, bleak setting where you can see bears. Okay, so it's about an old couple who moved to Alaska, and they're kind of haunted slash trying to heal from having lost a baby a few years ago. Or was it many years ago? But then a little girl mysteriously appears, Snow Child, and it's all very mysterious and magical, and it's based on a fairy tale, which is great. I approve of that. It's somewhat bleak, stark. Stark is one of my favourite words at the moment, stark. It's just so powerful and beautiful. Yeah, this book is beautiful, and I think it's really the setting that made it for me, the sort of wilderness and the harsh survival, but also the characters. Some of the characters are really cool. The couple's neighbours, they kind of provide hope in a way. They're kind of happy and lively. It had some really poignant scenes in quite a subtle way. The way it explored the relationship between Jack and Mabel, the couple, and the healing process they had to go through, and the way they sort of found... Oh my god, I was actually going to say found love in a hopeless place, but I guess it's true. And also it's kind of about survival and just being strong, and that's nice. So I did like this. I think that I couldn't really relate to it, so maybe it's not aimed at my target audience, but I think I still enjoyed it, and I would recommend it to people. But I think the main thing was that I overhyped it because of the setting and the cover, but it was really good, and I'm definitely happy that I read it. The next book I'm going to be reviewing is... Oh my god, that's embarrassing, that bookmark. Let's just not worry about that. Okay, the next book I'm going to be reviewing is Magician by Raymond D. Feist. I'll either be reviewing it on its own or with other books, because this is my next reading book. And I did start reading it a while ago, and I got stuck with it. Because it's so big, I wasn't in the right mind frame to read a fat book. And it's too big to take on the bus for me, which is where I do most of my reading, because that's kind of the time when I feel like I'm allowed to, because I feel bad when I read when I'm supposed to be working. But anyway, this isn't about me, this is about books, and also what you think of the books. If you've read any of these, let me know what you thought, if you'd like to read them, if I've inspired you to read any of them. I'm excited to see what you think, and oh, also thank you for... I noticed yesterday that I have 200 subscribers, actually 201, but you know, yeah, 201 subscribers, which I'm really happy about. I hope you enjoy my videos, and I'm happy that people actually like them, that's nice, and I'll try to make more content to please you and stuff. So, I hope everyone's having a nice day, and reading books, and my feet have gone numb. Bye bye!